3 weeks after I signed the divorce papers, a contractor handed me something that proved I never really knew my own marriage. Not a photograph, not a voicemail, not something Carol left behind by accident. A sealed envelope, found inside a vent panel in the hallway of the house we were selling. My name written on the front in her handwriting, and when I held it up to the light, I noticed something strange. The pages inside weren't all the same shade. Let me give you 30 seconds of context. I was at 412 Birchwood Lane for the last time. New owners took possession Friday. 19 years of my life had happened in that house. Carol and I raised our daughter Emma there, drifted apart there, in the slow, quiet way that doesn't announce itself. It just one day becomes the only thing in the room. The divorce wasn't dramatic. No affair, no explosion. Just a Tuesday night when Carol sat across from me and said she was tired of feeling invisible. I didn't argue. I already knew. 8 months later, we signed the papers. Carol went to Pittsburgh. I went across town. Emma stopped calling as much, not out of anger, out of grief. She adored her mother. That was supposed to be the end of it. Then Ray Kowalski called out from the hallway. Ray was patching the old vent access panel near the linen closet, metal framed, screwed into the drywall. It covered the space where a pipe had been repaired back in January 2009. Work Carol had handled herself while I was away at a conference. Ray had pulled the panel off to check the framing behind it. He walked over holding a small envelope like it was a receipt he'd found under the baseboard. "This was taped to the inside of the panel," he said. "Your name's on it." I took it. One word on the front. Daniel. Ray went back to work. No questions. No expression. I stood in that hallway and looked at my name in Carol's handwriting. Then I held the envelope up to the hallway light. 3 separate sheets inside. I could see the edges through the paper, and the pages weren't all the same shade. One of them, the last one, looked slightly different from the other two. I walked outside and sat in my truck. I didn't open it right away. I just held it and thought about the panel on the wall behind me. Carol had handled the 2009 repair herself. She knew exactly how to remove that panel. A screwdriver was all it took. If she had ever wanted to come back to whatever was inside that envelope, she could have, easily, quietly, without anyone knowing. The question I couldn't shake wasn't what was inside. It was why a woman who wanted to say something to her husband chose to say it to a wall instead. I opened the envelope. 3 pages. Carol's handwriting on all of them. The first looked neat. The second looked heavier, like the pen had been pressing harder. The third seemed almost hurried, like whoever wrote it needed to finish before changing their mind. It began, "Daniel, if you're reading this, something went wrong, and I need you to know something before it's too late." I put it down after that line, stared at the windshield for a moment. Then I picked it back up. Page 1 was a love letter, not the kind with grand declarations, the kind that notices things. She wrote about the exact order I make coffee, which apparently never changes, and she had memorized without ever mentioning it. She wrote about the way I checked the locks twice every night, and how she used to roll her eyes at it until the night there was a break-in 2 streets over, and she realized she had been sleeping soundly for 15 years because of it. She wrote about Emma's kindergarten recital, how I cried in the dark auditorium and then talked about traffic the entire drive home. She wrote, "I have been standing at the door of you for 15 years, Daniel, knocking. You are always home. I can feel you in there, but you never quite open the door all the way." Then below that, in slightly different ink, I found myself back here again. I'm not sure I should add to this, but I'm doing it anyway. Different ink, same page, same woman, but at a different moment in time. She had come back to this letter after she first wrote it, returned to the vent panel, unscrewed it, added a line to page 1, sealed it again, put it back. I had no idea when. I turned to page 2. Page 2 was dated January 2014, 5 years after the first page. The handwriting was recognizably Carol's, but under more pressure, like whatever she needed to say required more force to get out. She wrote about the night she almost left. Emma was 11. I had just come through a brutal school year and had been somewhere else in my head for months, present in the house, absent from everything in it. Carol had packed a bag. Actually packed it, set it by the bedroom door. I never knew. She wrote that she sat on the edge of our bed at 2 a.m. staring at that bag. Then she looked at the photo of the three of us on the nightstand, the one from the summer we rented the cabin in Michigan, and she unpacked it, quietly, while I slept 3 feet away. I chose you that night. You didn't know I was choosing, but I was, and I would choose you again. That's what you never understood about me, Daniel. I wasn't staying because I had to. I was staying because I kept deciding to. I closed my eyes. 2014. I remembered it as a regular year, hard at work, quiet at home. Carol had packed a bag and unpacked it in the dark while I slept. Then some time later she had unscrewed the vent panel in the hallway, added another page, sealed the envelope again, and put it back in its hiding place because there was nowhere else to put the truth. I turned to page 3. Halfway through the last page I stopped reading. I had to sit with what I was looking at before I could finish it. Page 3 was dated March 2022. 8 months before Carol sat across from me at the kitchen table and told me she was tired. The handwriting was urgent, compressed, like she had written it standing up. I don't know if I'm making the right decision. I don't know if leaving is right or staying is right. I only know I'm tired of loving someone who has forgotten that love goes both ways. I keep coming back to this wall. I keep adding to this letter. And I keep not giving it to you. Maybe that says everything about both of us. Then at the very bottom, one final line. I still make your mother's recipe on our anniversary. I always set 2 plates, not out of habit anymore. I know the difference between habit and hope. This is hope. It has always been hope. I read that last line 4 times. Not habit. Hope. Right up until 8 months before she told me she was done, she had been setting that second plate with intention. She hadn't walked away from me. She had waited, year after year, coming back to a metal vent panel in the hallway, writing pages I never read, resealing an envelope I never knew existed, and I had let her wait alone through all of it. I called Emma. She answered on the 3rd ring. When she heard my voice, she said, "Dad, are you okay?" I told her I was at the house, that Ray had found something taped inside the old vent panel near the closet. Silence, not surprised silence. "What did you find?" she said, carefully, like she already had a feeling about the shape of the answer. I described the envelope, the pages, the different ink. Emma didn't say anything for a long moment. Then slowly she said, "I saw that envelope once. I was 16. I was looking for the flashlight and the vent panel wasn't fully closed. I saw it taped to the inside. I saw your name on the front. Did you read it?" "No," she said. "I put it back. I screwed the panel shut, and I never said anything to either of you." She paused. "I didn't think it was mine to open. My 16-year-old daughter had found that envelope, stood in our hallway and made a decision no kid should ever have to make, alone. Then walked back to her room and carried it quietly for 5 years. She hadn't read it, hadn't told either of us, just protected something she didn't fully understand, and trusted it would find its way when it was supposed to. I sat with that for a long time before I could say anything back. I'm sorry she never felt like she could come to us with it," I finally said. "Dad," Emma said quietly, "she wasn't protecting the letter. She was protecting you. Until you were ready." I called Carol the next morning. 6 rings. I almost hung up after the 5th. "Daniel." Her voice, exactly the same. I told her what Ray had found. A long silence. "I always wondered if that panel would hold," she said quietly. I asked her about 2014, about the bag she packed while I slept 3 feet away. "I meant everything I wrote," she said. "Why didn't you just give it to me, Carol?" She was quiet for a moment. "Because every time I tried to say something real, you'd go somewhere I couldn't follow, and I needed you to actually hear me, not just wait for me to finish." I didn't have a defense for that, because it was true. I asked her about the second plate, about hope versus habit. Her voice shifted, just slightly, just enough. "It was always hope," she said. "Even when I told myself otherwise, I told her I was sorry. Not for any single night, for the pattern. For 19 years of showing up without fully arriving. for making her give her truest words to a wall panel in a hallway because I had never made it safe enough to say them to my face. She didn't tell me it was okay. She's not that kind of woman. But she stayed on the phone, and somewhere in the next hour, something shifted. Not forgiveness. Too early for that. Something smaller. The sound of two people finally talking without one of them going somewhere the other couldn't follow. Emma came home last weekend. We sat on the back porch and I told her I was sorry. Not for the divorce, but for the years before it. For the quiet I always mistook for peace. She cried a little. I cried more than a little. Then she said the thing I keep coming back to every morning since. Dad, every time Carol couldn't say something to you, she gave it to the wall instead. The wall held it, until you were finally ready. She was right. Carol spent 14 years leaving pieces of herself inside that wall. I spent 14 years walking past them, thinking my marriage was quiet, when it had actually been speaking to me the whole time.